Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Michelle Saeed, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and really the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're absolutely thrilled to have Sheena Eizmendiz joining us. She is the founder and CEO of the WellBiz, and with a degree in business administration, and she's a certified executive coach. Sheena empowers executives and teams with mindset skills, DEIB strategies, and wellness solutions to create cultures of impact. We'll explore her founding story, really what got her started with creating impact cultures, and how she's transforming leadership with her purpose-driven firm. So let's dive in. Sheena, welcome to Founders Future.
Thank you. I'm very honored to be here today.
Absolute pleasure having you on. So with that being said, let's kick things off for the listeners. Take us back to the beginning. What specific problem within the leadership development landscape, perhaps around lack of inclusivity or ineffective team dynamics, inspired you to actually start the company?
Funny story, I actually started the company when I was 23 years old. And it was at a very interesting time in my life where at the time, I was actually pursuing psychology. That was always my passion. And I had just recently gotten divorced with two small children. I had a 4-year-old and a 11-month-old baby at the time. And something in all that and all those challenges really, I think, propelled me more than anything. That I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to have my own space. I wanted to be able to have that sense of autonomy more than anything. And just be able to give of whatever skills and of myself at the time, obviously, which very young, very fresh, still very new. That was really what was in the back of my mind more than anything else. So it was about now 26 years ago. It's been some time.
Wow. Wow. Incredible. I just wanted to acknowledge it's really not easy as women, especially going through that at that age, even when our brains aren't even developed necessarily at that point. We're probably not thinking a lot about starting a business or going into entrepreneurship. We're still starting in the early stages of our life. So take us back now to the present day and nuts and bolts of what your offer is. How does the WellBiz generate revenue today? I know there are a couple of things that you do on that front. There's the DEIB programs, there's wellness solutions, executive coaching. What's your primary focus in terms of the core services?
Yeah. So for the biz as a consulting firm that we're more than anything, we esteem ourselves in being the experts championing leadership and team effectiveness. So our focus is really in developing them not only as professionals with the right tools, resiliency, with change management, with growth mindset tools, but more than anything, we strongly believe that you really can't separate personal development from professional development. So as part of the core of our work, we always bridge both. Everything that we do is tailored and customized for our clients' needs, but we always bring that personal development into the professional work that we deliver.
Love that. Now, from what it sounds like, a lot of what you do is really focused on leadership development, change management. What does a typical customer journey look like? Let's say if someone does approach you, they want to work with you. How do you package a lot of the work for those customers? And then also, what does success look like at the end, if you can share with us?
Sure. So we really, the core of our work, as I had mentioned in those areas, really stem from, we have a framework. It's almost like what we call a proven framework that we utilize, where for us, it's about really being able to determine the alignment that we may have with a potential client. Are we the right fit? Are the services that we have the right services for them? Do we have the right things that they need more than anything? So really determining those factors is part of our 5-step proven program. We're able to really see that alignment, the right fit, being able to then move on to the next step, which is pretty much the co-creation step, where we're able to really co-create what would be the ideal programs or strategies or development that we need to create for them. So these are some of the things that we do with our clients. We take them through the client journey with the understanding that in order to really ultimately reach their goals, this is a co-creation. We're not there to just provide them and deliver certain programs. We're really there to make impact and make sure that we're measuring that impact, whether it's through diagnostics. We do a lot of assessments, a lot of surveys, also making sure that our programs are not only just hitting the mark, But more than anything, we're not looking for clients who are looking to just maybe check a box. It's more
Mhm.
about, do you truly believe in the development of your people? Do you want us to help you with the team effectiveness, team alignment, more than team
Mhm.
building? Because team building is really, I think more than anything, team building is more based on fun. Team
Yeah.
effectiveness and alignment is more based on really that cross-functional team
Mhm.
dynamic and teaching the teams to be accountable, hold each
Yeah.
other accountable, not just being accountable through leadership, but
Mhm.
more as a team and that cohesiveness. So those are the things that we do as part of our framework. Moving on to making sure that we're meeting those metrics, as I said, and
Mhm.
then creating something that is long term, which is why the majority, probably about 90% of our current clients are clients that we've been working with them for many years now. We have a very high rate when it comes to our renewal rate, and being
Mhm.
able to have, for some of them, we have several years of
Mhm.
contracts where we sign off 3 to 5 years that we're planning to work on together because we really want to be like on the ground with everything that we do.
Yeah, 100%. So also you mentioned a couple things, very customized, very tailored, a lot of your approaches when it comes to working with some of the clients there. Now, do you have a preferred ICP? Is there like a typical client profile that kind of fits who you want to work with, if you can share with us as well on that front?
So the majority of the companies that we work with are what we consider like a mid-level organization.
Mhm.
Companies that have anywhere between 400, 500, and we have companies that have thousands of employees, but
Mhm.
preferably mid-level organizations. We work with organizations not only in the US, we work with global
Mhm.
companies as well, which is part of the work that we deliver is not only in person, we do virtual and we do
Mhm.
labs, strategy labs, cohorts, and a lot of that type of support as well.
Love that. So you have a cohort model in place from what it sounds like. I'd love for you to expand a little bit about that. Like, what's like your vision for scaling in that sense? Obviously, with everything being tailored, customized, there are fulfillment constraints that may appear on that front. What's your approach? What does that next step look like for you as you're looking at scaling and growing and creating more of a productized offer?
Sure. So I think that because so much of our work has always been with leaders, making sure that leaders have the right tools, that they have
Mm.
the right skills. A lot of the shift that we're doing now is really more focused on team dynamics, team
Yeah.
effectiveness, team alignment. I think that this is really the next wave, right? Making
Mm.
sure that everyone is integrated with the AI. AI, as we know,
Mm.
it's here. It's not something
Yeah.
that's coming. It's very much a day-to-day thing. So
Mm.
being able to provide them with the necessary skills that they need so everyone can work together. So more than anything, it is about continuing to create exceptional leaders, empathetic leaders. For us, that human connection must always be there because it's the only way that you really build trust with your teams, but also developing the teams. It's very important that the
Mm.
teams feel that they're also getting that strategic development, that coaching, that
Mm.
mentorship, that support. And that's why we create these types of programs that are very specific to industry
Mm.
needs, filling gaps, but more than anything, it's about culture transformation.
Yeah, 100%. Now, building on your growth, I'd love for you to walk us through really your way in which you're generating leads right now. How are you acquiring some of your clients? What are some of those channels, whether it's like paid ads, referrals, word of mouth, LinkedIn, social media? What's been the most
Sure.
effective for landing clients?
So I'll say some of the most effectiveness that we've seen in how we build our pipeline more than anything is we do a lot of speaking engagements.
Hmm.
So with some of the keynotes and especially if we do industry related events, speaking, we have found incredible success in doing something like that because
Hmm.
obviously we're speaking to an audience of leaders and people who are in
Mm.
different organizations. That would
Mm.
I would say that would be the top one. There's also a lot of referrals. We've had companies who have actually been working with us and they'll refer us to a partner organization or they'll mention someone that they know in another organization and maybe even a different industry that they feel that would benefit from some of the services that we provide. We obviously have someone in house who helps us with our business development, but I think more than anything we really have not tried anything like subscribing to any ads or those types of marketing campaigns. I think more than anything, it's we've been building on by the results, just the results, and people sharing those results, other organizations sharing them like on LinkedIn and talking about what it's been like in terms of success and working with us more than anything,
Yeah,
building
100%.
that success case around that.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I want to get your thoughts on this. We've often had guests where we always talk about referrals, in-person networking, speaking engagements, always the best there for predictive, for building that personality, building that brand awareness. And they're the most high intent in terms of the leads that come in, but not always the most predictable way to generate leads through the door. What are some of the avenues and ways you're exploring building predictability into the WellBiz? Would love to hear what that next step looks like for you. What's your thought process around that?
No, I think that especially with AI more than anything, it makes it a little more efficient, a little bit more accessible to utilize certain tools, certain platforms that help us really measure what the results would be in utilizing some of those types of services and ideas when it comes to marketing. Something that we, as you were saying, that something else that came to mind was our social media platform. We create in our social media platforms, the intention is really to educate, to inform, to provide as much value. It's not so much to just showcase what we do or what companies we're working with or partnering with. It's more about really providing like how to. This is what you can do. If you find the situation in your teams or in your leaders, this is how we do it with our clients. So we're educators at the end of the day. We love to educate. We love to be able to share that in terms of value with those that follow us and our audience in our social media platforms.
Yeah, 100%. And even with social media, right? Like there comes the fact that very manual, right? A lot of what we have to do, we have to be spending time as founders having to create content, having to manually post that and make sure that's always consistent there. What are some of the ways, because I know you mentioned AI on the automation front with generating leads, creating like that engine. What are you exploring there? Because I know you mentioned nothing yet on the paid ad side of things. Is that something you as a founder you're looking at in the future? What's been your perspective on that?
It really just hasn't been something we've explored. Have a really, I always say, we couldn't do what we do without our team. We're a very team-driven company. Every member of our team is integral, it's vital, it's everyone is plays a huge part in what we're able to accomplish. We really believe in that white glove service. Everyone does come together to share their ideas, their creativity, and when we have a team member that finds something that they think may be useful or efficient for us to try, we're always open to trying different things. Really,
Yeah.
we're not like stuck in just one way of doing something. We like to be considered a very innovative company, which is why all of our team members have received extensive training constantly, right? In AI and really understanding the ethical practices of AI and how to use it correctly, and so forth.
Yeah, I love the fact that you mentioned that having a team, having you being open minded about other ways in which you can start to look at lead gen, creating different ways to acquire clients, get your messaging out there on that front. And I think that resonates with the listeners, especially because oftentimes founders don't necessarily even have that perspective to begin with. But super cool to see that you have that and you've resonated that down to your team as well in that sense. Now, on the sales side of things, I'd love to hear a little bit about what that process looks like. Is it just yourself doing the sales calls? Do you have a team in place handling some of those conversations? How is all of that structured right now within the WellBiz?
So when it comes to our clients or potential clients, right? I try to vet. That's really my position is just vetting who are the right clients, if we're the right fit, we have the right alignment and so forth, because we look at clients not as a relationship. For us, it's about building a relationship, a long-term relationship. So I am very much involved with the vetting. I usually have one or two members of my team. If it's now we're moving into the different stage of our framework, then if it's going to be one of the facilitators or experts in my team, they also will join those conversations because that's really what helps us in the creation of what we're going to put together. When it comes to the selling, I think it's really a team effort because I always go back to the team and we discuss what are the needs of a potential client, who they are as an organization. We do our due diligence in doing a lot of research as who the company is, what the company represents. We always want to make sure as part of our alignment is that our professional alignment is also based on our values, right? As an organization, we stand behind inclusivity. We stand behind making sure that we're always amplifying people's voices, no matter who they are or their gender, their sexual orientation, their religious beliefs. So we want to make sure that we always align with organizations that uphold the same standards, because that for us is very important. The corporate responsibility for us around that is really why sometimes we've been approached with amazing projects, super interesting projects, but we'll turn them down because we find that as a company, they're just looking to check a box. We've had companies who literally will tell us that during a conversation. We would like to hire you. We were recommended to us, but the reality is that we just want to check a box. And so that
Yeah.
doesn't fit into the work that we do. We don't do check the boxes. We make that very clear upfront.
Yeah, 100%. Being selective about who you want to work with, and sounds like you have those parameters in place from like a business perspective. Now, in terms of like really what like stylistically your approach is when it comes to that sales process, what does that look like? Let's say someone does come in either through a referral or at a speaking engagement. How do you go about having that conversation, having that discovery? I would love for you to kind of share a little bit with the listeners on what's been your approach there.
So before we even decide that we're going to set up a call or a virtual meeting or in person, oftentimes if it's local, we'll do in person. Sometimes they'll ask me to come in person, even if in a different state. However, in the vetting process, it's again really knowing who the company is, doing some research. Who are they? Not just industry wise, not just who they are as a whole. As I mentioned, are their corporate responsibilities something that aligns with us? And so we look at that and then we set up a call. Our call is really intended more than anything to hear them out, to see what it is that they're looking for, to see if it's something we can offer, and to also share a little bit about the work that we do, because oftentimes we'll have a client call for, say, a reason, and it ends up being that we end up doing a whole different like B type of thing, right? They come for A, but we end up with B. A lot of times that happens where they're not even aware of certain gaps that they have. They're not even aware, which is why diagnostics and assessments for us is really something that we do at the forefront. We make sure that we're getting the real-time data from the people. We conduct interviews, we conduct shadow days where we come in and we're there, boots on the ground with their people, asking questions, interviewing them, and really getting their perspective as to what's working, what's not, because whom better than their own people to tell us, right? A lot of times leadership thinks this is the problem, and the problem is completely different from what they're assuming it is.
Yeah, 100%. And really focusing on doing that discovery, diving a little bit deeper into like where they're at in that process. Now, I'm curious to hear a little bit more on like scale and growth as you're looking at growing the WellBiz. Are you guys also looking at expanding your team on the sales side of things, maybe bringing in someone to help with closing, setters? What's your thought process there? What does that next step look like for you in terms of growth?
Definitely. Like I said, I vet and I tend to be oftentimes the one who closes, but I think it's a team effort. I do have certain people in the team that obviously contribute to that and that decision making more than anything, because I do believe that we're a company and it's not just me, the face, the founder, and the CEO. But yes, we just onboarded for the summer. We just onboarded 6 interns. We're working on onboarding other people now in the fall. And I'm looking for a director of operations. I had one and they're no longer with us. So definitely looking to replace that role and continue growing, because our services have also expanded tremendously in the last couple of months. And we are serving a larger audience.
Love that. Now, I would love to understand as well, from what it sounds like, your growth's been incredible, right? And you're looking at scaling, growing, and really focusing on taking the WellBiz to the next level. What are you most focused on solving in terms of a bottleneck and a challenge as like a founder? Whether it is like lead gen, figuring out sales, maybe finding support there. What's top of mind for you as you're looking at continuing the momentum?
I think more than anything, it would probably be we don't just add new team members simply because we have more services to offer or because the company's growing. We're very selective when it comes to that. We're looking into how can we onboard certain people that really they go through a process with an HR consultant that would really help us to be able to vet the right people and be able to then know what specific roles they can meet within the company. I want to make sure that it's not just about capabilities, it's also about the way that they make decisions, what are the areas that they need support with, just to make sure that everyone is aligned perfectly in the right position.
Yeah, 100%. What's your thought process? How are you navigating that as a founder? Because I think oftentimes, like hiring the right fits, finding like the right talent in place, especially with the core arms of the business being marketing and sales, can oftentimes be like very tricky. What's been your experience there? Like, how have you navigated that?
I will say that when it comes to retention, over the last, my gosh, 26 years, right? And the company itself has gone through its transformation. The first 18 years of the business, I was in private practice. I worked with political leaders, CEOs of organizations globally, but I worked in the personal development space. That was my area. It was about developing them as people, as humans. And it wasn't until probably like 2019 that I started to pivot the business a bit. And I started to come in and speak at some of these organizations. The reality is at the beginning, it was because my own clients were inviting me. They're like, I'd love for you to speak to my team. I'd love for you to come talk at my company. And that's where this idea of serving corporate. So I went from a B2C space to completely serving B2B. I look at it that I'm still developing people. It's just at a different scale because now we may come in and I'm working with larger teams. And so we've gone through our own transformation as an organization. Pivoting is essential. I think it's part of every business. As you grow and you scale, you're going to find that there's going to be moments where you pivot.
Yeah, 100%. And like in terms of what the trajectory looks like with like goals and like growth over the next 6 to 12 months, paint that picture for us. Do you have any like performance milestones, revenue targets you're looking to hit? What does all of that look like for the biz?
Absolutely. So, especially entering this next quarter, this is where we do what we consider more than anything is really looking ahead as to really defining where we are, what we've been able to meet in terms of results and goals for our clients, but really looking at what's ahead, right? We're seeing that we are in a constantly evolving world with a lot of disruptions, a lot of changes that are happening where we can barely keep up with these changes. A lot of the surveys right now are saying that employees are experiencing burnout at a higher rate than they were during the pandemic. So those things are very concerning for us. We want to make sure that whatever we are creating for a particular client has that in mind. So that's really top of mind for us. We're taking into consideration what people's needs are, not just skill set needs, not just capabilities needs or professional needs. We're looking at what do they also need when it comes to them as individuals, making sure that that human connection is not lost as AI continues to evolve as well. That's what we're looking at.
Love that. Yeah, no, 100%. So really thinking about getting the messaging out there from what it sounds like, really reaching out to your audience, educating them as well about some of those changes from what it sounds like. I have a fun question, and this is the last one before we do wrap up. If I brought a genie in the room and you rub the lamp and all of a sudden you have unlimited resources, what would you implement immediately to accelerate the growth of the WellBiz?
That's such a great one. And if you do have that, if you've got that lamp with you, please share it. What I would say more than anything is to continue to grow the team. I think that the larger the team with the right people, because it's not about numbers, it's not about being bigger, but with the right people, with the right talent, the right skills, that gives us an opportunity to serve the demands that we're having right now, that we're seeing. The requests are constant. It's almost daily where we get emails from companies requesting a specific service from us. So I want to be able to serve everyone. The only way to do that is to be able to also grow the team.
Yeah, 100%. And is that more on like fulfillment, sales, marketing? What does that look like for you?
I would say between fulfillment and yes, and sales, obviously, because I can only have so many conversations a day.
I was like, how are you navigating that as a founder? That must be intense.
Yes. And with a very hectic travel schedule because I travel quite extensively.
Yeah, 100%. On that note, that wraps up an inspiring episode of Founders Future. Sheena, thank you so much for joining us today, sharing your journey into entrepreneurship, starting at the age of 23, and really leveraging your background in psychology and a passion for helping people and building cultures. We're excited to follow that journey ahead and seeing all your success going into the latter half of 2025. What's the best way for the listeners to get in touch with you? You can drop your website, LinkedIn profile before we do wrap up here.
It would be the WellBiz. As I mentioned, we use platforms like LinkedIn. I think that's one of the most educational platforms that we have. We're on Instagram, the WellBiz, and Facebook, TikTok, you name it. We're there, just delivering value.
Incredible. On that note, everyone, you guys can check out Sheena. She just linked the wellbiz.com, so feel free to reach out to her there. And for more resources and insights, you can visit us over here at closers.io. We're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth through trained appointment setters and world-class marketing systems. And don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Until then, everyone, keep climbing, and we'll see you all in the next one. Sheena, thank you so much once again for joining us.